Night of Champions, the final points race of the season. Everything went smoothly, and nothing remarkable ended up happening. That's what I wish I could say. Unfortunately, as most already know, that was not the case. My run for the championship was cut short on the white flag lap of my heat race. Going into turn 3, the right rear safety hub ended up shearing off, and the wheel came off, ended up going underneath the car, and it caught my skid plate underneath my gas tank, ended up ripping the bolts for the skid plate through the floor, and then it popped the car way up in the air. You can see that hole there used to have one of those studs like over there and over there sticking through. I had 2 studs on this side. That one ripped through, but it's still there. This one pulled through, came back up and poked another hole in the floor, and then disappeared. You can see in the center of that washer, that hex shape where the nut literally pulled through the washer. Like back there's what it should look like. And then that big dent in the floor. And you can see skid plate's got a bolt's still on it actually. It's packed full of dirt down there. But yeah. Obviously, I got another safety hub on it in the wheel so we could drive it around. Sorry, push it around. But yeah, when that wheel came off, it was so jarring that I thought I had been hit by another car. And I kind of turned into it briefly, but then that right rear kind of hooked into the dirt and the car pitched up onto the right side and I knew I was going over. And I think I rolled about 3 times, ended up coming to rest on the driver's side of the car. Before the car even stopped moving completely, the safety crew was just on top. And I've said it before, but we've got the best safety crew in the area, by far. I mean, those guys are fantastic. And they held the car up, helped me crawl out, made sure I was good, and pulled her back to the pits. And that'll be the last time this car will ever see the track again. The car is for sure totaled at this point. There's no saving it. Because this side, this strut tower it's kind of hard to tell with the camera. It's down about 3 inches, and then it's inboard 2 or 3 inches. There was a major ripple in the firewall, big crease, and then the whole front end is shoved that way. Exploded that motor mount bracket there. You can see how far away the alternator is from the frame rail on this side. My radiator leaked all its fluid out because the little nipple on the top that sets in this bushing cracked off on this side. So I actually think I might engineer different radiator mounting in the future that's not so rigid, because if that were a little bit looser, I would have lost any fluids. I would have said we could have rolled the car back onto its wheels and I would have driven it off the track. But my clutch slave cylinder got smushed over to the side and the clutch pedal is on the floor. So I was joking with the safety crew, saying if it would have landed on the wheels, I would have just driven it into the infield before they even got to me. But unfortunately, that was not the case. Yep. That car's junk. I could have gone out into the feature in Alex's car and started from the tail. And I thought in my by looking at the points that I was going to be good for second place, but I realized I read the statistics incorrectly, and unfortunately Landon ended up passing me in points, which bumped me down to third, which still fulfills my wish to improve upon last year, which I did by one position. So fourth last year, I got third this year. Second would have been good, first would have been awesome, but I can't get too greedy with this. Had I won the championship, I would have strongly considered jumping classes. I may have actually tried to build a pure stock or something else, but it looks like I'll have to come back again next year. Obviously now with another car. I do still have Old Trusty in the back there, which I'm going to have to get ready in a couple days. It doesn't have much. That's the car that I took out in the Enduro and messed up this right front corner, and I got a new knuckle and everything on it. I just gotta replace the inner tie rod, and that thing will be good for next weekend, which is a non-points race. And then there's this. We are building the Z24 for our friend Ted. His daughter wants to get into this sport, and we are happy to help him build a car for her. He's got a cage that he's bringing by tomorrow, and we're going to get it stabbed into that thing and get an engine and trans together for him so that he can start finishing this thing up for her so she can race it next season. So there's going to be a lot going on in the shop here in the next month or so. But anyway, let me step back and talk about Alex's finish. Alex was in the same heat race I was in. We actually started side by side on the second row based on our qualifying times. I was on the inside and he was on the outside. And for the 50 millionth time this season, I missed second gear. And you know, I like to follow the 7 P's for preparedness when it comes to racing, which is proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Unfortunately, I've missed the mark on that when it comes to readjusting my damn shifter cables, because I've been bitching about second gear all season, but still haven't done anything to fix it. And now it doesn't matter. But anyway, when I missed second, a bunch of cars passed me. I ended up getting hit a couple times and had to carve my way back up. But Alex made his way to second place and held that for that whole entire heat. He did pretty good. He ended up making it to the redraw, and I'm pretty sure he drew a 3, which put him starting second row in the feature. After a couple laps, he ended up getting out front. I think he might have gotten out front pretty quick and was doing pretty good. He ended up getting past near the end of the feature, and I think he finished third or fourth, I can't remember. But still a pretty good finish. I was watching from the exit chute, which is a pretty cool angle. Sorry, the entrance chute. And got some pretty good video clips of him coming around the corner. It's really neat to watch the cars come by there and hear the RPM difference in some of these setups. Landon's car was freaking screaming coming through there. Yep, I'm pretty sure he secured 6th place in points after that. And his car is still perfect. With all things considered, I can still say that this was my best season of racing yet. It's my best finish so far as point standings. I've had many second place finishes in the feature with this car. Quite a lot of heat race wins. I won one feature race in this car, which I'm glad I got before it junked, and learned quite a lot. Also made quite a lot of friends this season. A lot of people I'm very grateful to have met. A lot of people that have given me some good car advice, and just some really great people. And This has definitely been the most full season of racing that we've had. I don't think we've had this many races in a season since we've started racing. So I'm very grateful for that. You can see this floor is pushed up pretty far back here too. Oh, another thing that was somewhat disappointing. I had this camera on the car. So actually, let me backtrack a little bit here. Some people know that I run a camera in the keyhole on the trunk of the car that faces out the back. And I use a dash camera for that. It's just interesting footage. And the reason I use a dash camera for that is I can just wire it to ignition power. It comes on. I don't have to fool around with it like a GoPro. And it records pretty good footage. I had been gifted a dash camera that was a dual camera system. It had a front and rear facing camera. And this was a El Cheapo. This is a crap camera. Because of that, I ended up mounting the rear facing camera down here in the grill, which did produce some pretty neat footage. I've only had it on for a couple races, and there was really nothing recorded that was consequential enough to put in a video. I had this one mounted to the trunk for a race, and the quality of it was just crap. I was not happy with it, so I wasn't going to use it. But because I still had that front camera hooked up on the car, I figured I may as well just leave this thing in and record. And I ended up, just for shits and giggles, mounting it right there. So this camera was actually facing forward at the axle. During that race, when I rolled, the camera obviously flew off and it ejected the SD card out of it. These cameras use micro SD cards, and if you're familiar with how those micro SD cards load into cameras like this, it's spring loaded in there and you have to push it in so far and then it clicks. Obviously in the rollover, that camera yeeted the card out of it, and that is embedded somewhere in the surface of Lawrenceburg Speedway. So there's some cool footage on that card, probably of my tire leaving the chat, that we will never get to see. But I digress. Now it's time to get this car shoved back in the corner, get the old car out and get it prepped for this last race on Saturday, and then start getting this car put together for Ted. And then I'll probably do a pretty good video of chopping this car all up and showing everything that was annihilated on it during that roll. Another quick mention to a very useful tool when it comes to having race cars in your shop, particularly race cars that are A, broken, or B, have welded differentials in them, because you know how difficult they are to push around. These Harbor Freight wheel dollies that we just bought have been amazing for pushing this stupid thing around. Oh, it's gonna hit the toolbox. Yeah, it rolls really, really well. It takes no effort to push a full built car around the shop. So if you struggle with moving crap around like that, get yourself some of these wheel dollies. There are actually two different kinds. There was like this nicer kind, and then the slightly cheaper ones, and they both work great. Highly recommended. Well, yeah, that's enough rambling for now. Time to get to work. See you in the next video.
So